So the next step is to draw a rigging sketch for the elevator so that we know exactly where all of the pieces of the rigging are positioned. So for that, I'm actually going to delete some of these dimensions that we put in before and go back to dimensioning pieces directly. And that's because I'm going to separate the stages, and that'll make it easier to put this together without making any mistakes. So this way I can pull the stages apart. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because the rigging for any given stage makes a loop within that stage. And you can see this most clearly with the chain. So the chain here starts at the bottom of this stationary U structure, and the top of it is anchored to the top of the same stationary U structure. So it's just this continuous loop. And it's the same thing for all of the lines, all the dynema in between. This pair of blocks down here, if you follow around the outside, you can see it's this rectangular frame, and there's blocks that are just above and below each other on the same rectangular frame. So because this is now separated, when I go to put in the blocks here and here, I won't accidentally put one block here and one block here and try and stretch between them. So I could do that very easily on this drawing. So now that I've done this, let me make sure this sketch is fully dimensioned at least, fully defined. I'm actually going to exit that sketch. We'll name this structure. And we'll make a new sketch on the front plane. All right. So, first piece of the rigging is going to go on this one. And I will start by sketching the block that represents, well, the block. It's actually called a block. We know it's going to be 1 inch tall because if you look over at the guide, it's the same height as a tube here. And let's see, total width of this thing is going to be, we've got 1/4 inch plus a half, plus a half, plus a half, plus a quarter. So 2/4, 3 halves. This is going to be 2 inches wide. And these holes are 1, 2, 3, 1.5 inches apart, evenly spaced inside that. So 2 inches, 1 inch, here are the 2 attachment points. Put that all horizontal. Oh, I should do a midpoint too. Vertical, horizontal. So this should all be pretty well fixed at this point. And I could just sort of install this on here, but I'm going to reuse this thing, I don't know, 8 times in the course of this sketch. So instead, I'm going to use a SolidWorks sketch feature. You can sort of make a part within a sketch. It's called a block. And let's see, make block. Here we go. Insertion points, we want to tell it, yep, so bottom left corner is a fine insertion point for it. It's just saying where in the sketch would you like the to create the block from. So there we go, there's our block. And we can move this around now, which is nice. And we type search for block, we can insert another copy of the block. And this thing here is now, you can't change the pieces of it, but it doesn't show those dimensions. If you want to edit it, you can go in and say edit block, and you can modify the pieces and it'll change all of them across the sketch. So, exit block. Put this one here. I think we need to, yeah, there we go. These blocks are not inherently rotation locked. And now these two are. Good. So we'll do that. I'll insert the rest of the blocks for this stage. Make those vertical. And connect these. Okay, now we have approximately what we need. So once we figure out the position for these, we'll have the block on the top and the block on the bottom. And in order to find that, find the distance that it needs to go over, we can go back to the website again. Go back to this PDF of the elevator and find out how many holes over this is from the end. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4 half inches from the edge of the tube. Then I'll just throw a dimension, edge of the tube, 4 half inches is 2. And that's that. So that's the first of the rigging. And we don't have the attachment points, the fixed attachment points, but this is the two pulleys, the two blocks. So let's do this one more time. Insert block. Link these together. Make these vertical. And then we could put these right next to each other, like collinear, but these blocks might interfere with each other at that point. They might hit. Let's see, would that be an issue? Maybe not. But I think let's try the next hole over, so that would be a ½ inch. And we can always go back and change this later if we need to. Okay. These are the pieces that go on a particular stage, but we still need to add the pieces that connect the stages to each other. So, go back into the structure, and we're going to make the stages overlap again. Actually, I'm going to do it with this one, 25. We'll do that. That looks good. So we've got some overlap occurring. And then back into the rigging sketch. Now we can see, so this line right here connects to two stages. It connects to here, and it connects to here. When this frame slides up, this is the pull down point, and this is the pull up point. This also is where we have to have the tensioner for this line. So we can start with this one. The pull up point is simpler on this one. And for that, a center rectangle will do nicely. We can call that a rope clamp, just like we had on the elevator on the 2023 bot. In fact, let's make this a block. Insertion point shall be the center. And we'll put another one over here. Alright, so that's the rope clamp there. And then over here, we'll have some sort of rope clamp. And it probably will also include a tensioner, because this beam gives us lots of places to tension from. But for right now, I think we'll just do the default clamp that the Thrifty bot shows, which looks like this. It's a 2" by 2" square clamp that bolts through a tube. Check that this block is anchored properly. Okay, so that covers these two. The next step is this stage up here. So here's the line. There are its two blocks. And then there's a fixed attachment point here. We can use that default Thrifty block clamp there. And then up here on the carriage, you'll see that they use these screws with a fender washer in order to turn a direction. They show this in the PDF. So they go to this screw with a fender washer and then around this cam pulley. So we'll first insert block. That will give us our default default Thrifty bot clamps. This is my coincident on that. And then collinear this. And then on the carriage, I don't know, let's construct some here's our turnaround points. But it's close enough for what we need to do. We can always alter it. So here's our block. And we'll go ahead and make block. Insertion point is going to be our turnaround. And we'll insert a few of these in here. So this one actually is, it's convenient that you can rotate a block around because we have to for this one. Put one there, put one here. There we go. So there's our tensioners. Double check that this block is accurate. This should be 1 inch. It's not 1 inch. Go. We don't need to transfer the rigging over to here because we can just construct the stages like this and then assemble them like this. There we go.